Welcome into Action Island presented by FanDuel. This is our winning Thursday night crew, week 7. We have our predictive analytics team, Nick Giffen, Sean Kerner joining us, and the host of our Sunday touchdown show, Jill Gallant. Jill, excited about all the touchdown props we got. I know we've got some more that everyone's looking at. This is a fun one. Jags Saints. For those who are new to Action Island, it's a fun game style-esque show. We're the spot to be if you're looking for a parlay for tonight. Action Island is presented by FanDuel. Get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you bet $5. You can also get 3 months of the NBA League Pass on them. Fun new things going on at FanDuel for new users in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Okay, Jags at Saints, boys. Here we go. It's -1.5 for Saints. This total was at 39.5 earlier. It's moved up to 40.5. The storyline here is Trevor Lawrence. The knee injury, how's he going to be? Everything that we've read indicates that he should be good to go. Now, is he 100% healthy? There's no way he can be. I'm excited to see where you all are looking at in the prop market and really just at the game as a whole. Here's how it's going to work. Each of them will present 2 bets, right? We're going to pick one of them. So it's a big vote. And at the end, you'll have a 3-leg same game parlay. But these guys can make a big parlay win. A couple weeks ago, we had like an 8-leg parlay hit if you would have combined everything all together. So do as you will. Nick, you'll be the first. Where are we looking at this first leg?
Yeah, I'm ready to get back to the winning ways. We had that 16-1 in week 2. So I'm going to channel my inner Gilles Gallant, my former touchdown show buddy, partner, and I'm going to take 2 anytime touchdown bets. The first one, I'm going to go with Michael Thomas anytime touchdown plus 280 for the New Orleans Saints. Did you know he has the most red zone targets on the team this year with 6 so far through the 6 games, but no touchdowns so far. I do think that obviously makes him a positive regression candidate without having any touchdowns, but having 6 red zone targets. And those no touchdowns are what's likely inflating his odds a little bit because he hasn't gotten the end zone. So, probably just a little over adjustment here, making him too long and not accounting for the fact that he's had plenty of looks inside the 20. He also, among the Saints' 3 starting wide receivers, has the shortest average depth of target at 10.8 yards. And that is a good little fit here in terms of the matchup because Jacksonville is 16th in defensive pass DVOA versus shorter passes compared to 5th in defensive pass DVOA versus deeper passes. So I have about fair value on this at plus 255. So I like the value there at plus 280. And for the second pick, we're going to go with another Saints player, Taysom Hill, anytime touchdown, plus 360. So I mentioned Michael Thomas has the most red zone targets. Well, Taysom Hill has the second most red zone opportunities on the Saints, which is rushes plus targets, behind only Alvin Kamara. And since Juwan Johnson has been out over the past 3 games, which is also the 3 games Alvin Kamara has been back, Taysom Hill has had over a 50% snap rate in 2 of the 3, including last week, where it was over a 60% snap rate, where he had 9 total opportunities, 8 targets, and a rush. The Saints' offensive line is a bit of a mess. So, I think in a case where maybe Derek Carr might be feeling a little bit of pressure, something like that, one thing that would be really good is to get Taysom on there and keep kind of that Jaguars front 7 a little bit honest. And just like Michael Thomas, Taysom has no touchdowns this year. So I think that could be inflating his odds. If you look at the past 4 seasons, his prior 60 games, he has 30 touchdowns. That's like 0.5 per game. So, just these first 6 games without a touchdown just seems a bit of an aberration. So I have fair value at this one closer to 3-1.
There's a couple ways you can look at this. Michael Thomas getting targeted a ton in the red zone. Derek Carr obviously feels comfortable with him. It might be the height that's given him the little bit of the edge. And on the other hand, you got Taysom Hill, who's the Swiss Army knife, and he could run the ball and he can catch it. He could even throw it. That's what Taysom Hill does. And that's why you don't ever want to bet against him. And I do feel like if we go with Michael Thomas or if we go with Taysom Hill, you're getting some great value on this just due to the fact that they haven't yet gotten a touchdown. I can't see that lasting forever. Gilles, Sean, let's start voting. We have 2 options for an end zone for the first leg of this parlay. All right, 3, 2, 1. Where are we heading for the first leg? See, I was torn on this. Honestly, I'm okay. I'm okay. I like the Michael Thomas look for a sec because I do feel like he gets targeted a ton. I like the connection that Derek Carr has with Michael Thomas, but I'm definitely not mad at Taysom Hill. This was a toss up for me. And Taysom Hill, he's going to give that, kind of spice that this Saints offense wants. If you're designing a playbook and you want to figure out like, hey, how can we get things going? Taysom Hill is going to be one of your top priorities when designing plays. Gilles, you do a ton of things with touchdown props. Why did you like Taysom Hill over Michael Thomas?
Yeah, and it's just a slight like. I still like Michael Thomas in this game too, but Taysom for me, he's just so versatile. When they get down to the red zone, they could be able to maybe even take the ball out of Derek Carr's hands in certain spots, just let him run it in or throw it to Kamara. So again, I really like Taysom in this spot to score.
Yeah, I'm with you. Sean, did you have any strong feelings about this one?
Yeah, I have to go with Taysom here. He's obviously due. Last week, he played a season high 60% snap rate with Juwan Johnson out, so should be out there a lot. And yeah, like they love using him around the goal line, so could easily see him running in a touchdown here. He was used heavily as a pass catcher, so multiple pass for Taysom to get this.
When's the last time we saw Taysom Hill at plus 360 to get in the end zone? That's absolutely nuts. So Taysom Hill, all about it for the first leg of this Saints-Jags 3-leg same-game parlay. Gilles, the expert in touchdowns, where else are we looking in this game?
For sure. And I've got 2 touchdown scorer props. And this one was tough because I really looked hard at Michael Thomas, but I ended up settling more with Chris Olave for an anytime touchdown. Now, he only has 1 this year, but the target and the volume is just there. Double-digit targets in 4 of 6 games. You know he's going to be out there. He's playing in all situations for the Saints. And this Jaguars defense, they rank bottom 3 in NFL in touchdowns to wide receivers. They've given up a touchdown to a wide receiver in each game this year. The Jags also missing starting quarterback Tyson Campbell. I think that will help Chris Olave's chances to score in this game. But for the Jaguars, we're going with Evan Engram to score an anytime touchdown. And he's been heavily involved in the Jaguars offense, even though he has yet to score a touchdown this year. He's 3rd amongst all tight ends in targets in the NFL behind Travis Kelce and TJ Hawkinson. He's averaging just over 7 targets per game. Now, the Saints defense, we've been monitoring this as it goes, but they may have a little bit of a weak spot over the middle because Demario Davis might miss his first game in his career. He has not practiced all week. If he does play, he's probably going to be banged up and maybe a little limited. And the Saints defense, even with Demario Davis in the lineup, they've given up a touchdown to a tight end in 2 of the last 3 games. So Evan Engram is my second pick, and Chris Olave is the first pick.
The injuries for this game are really upsetting. Demario Davis has been a seasoned vet, a really key part to this linebacker room for New Orleans for quite some time. And it does kind of correlate to this Evan Engram pick. If you're looking at a Saints team with where's their Achilles heel on D, it would be against the tight end. They allowed a score against the Texans last week to tight ends, and the week prior. It does feel like Evan Engram, especially with the odds that we're getting it at plus 310, feels like that could be a move. I also don't see a lot of like offensive craziness from Jacksonville like we did see last week, where they're just going to be running it in with ETN. It feels like they're going to have to do something a little bit different this week against this tough Saints defense. Now, for Chris Olave, here's the thing. I had him last week to score, and I was really upset that he didn't. And I'm a little bit nervous about this one, I got to be honest. But I will say the Saints love using Chris Olave. He's in on 80% of the snaps, and when he's good, the Saints are so much better. If you're feeling like this is a Saints blowout, I feel like that could be the play here. Either way, 2 options for an anytime touchdown score, Evan Engram or Chris Olave. Let's get to voting. Will it be another Saints touchdown, or are we giving the Jags some love? Where are we headed? I'm voted off again. All right, you guys are the experts, though. Here's the thing. Olave's a good option. I was just looking at Evan Ingram saying, hey, look, do we really think Travis Etienne is just going to keep running this ball in like he did last week for Jacksonville? Look at the weak link for the Saints and go give some tight end some love, especially at plus 310. However, let's look at Olave too. Nick, why did you pick him over Ingram?
Yeah, I think this is more about, I'm not quite there on Ingram. The Saints have given up the 5th fewest targets to tight ends this year, and they're 4th in defensive DVOA versus the tight end position. So just looking at that, I know, there could be, with Demario Davis potentially limited or out, some opportunity there, but I still think as a whole schematically, I just would rather go with the Saints pass catcher Olave here in this one.
I mean, he's been the best receiver for the Saints. It's definitely not a crazy take. And it's also one that we're getting at better odds. That kind of feels like the theme of this week, by the way. And it feels like a reason why we should, go crazy with the anytime touchdown parlays is because we've seen some lacking performance. You're getting some great odds on these players that really should be getting in the end zone way more than they are. Sean, why were you looking at Olave over Ingram?
Well, I locked in Evan Ingram, longest reception under 17.5 yards. So I can't be rooting for Evan Ingram to score a touchdown too. So give me Chris Olave here. I do think that, Tyson Campbell being out does improve his matchup. So yeah, I like taking Olave at 2-1 here.
I'm seeing a Saints blowout right now. We've got 2 New Orleans touchdowns. Taysom Hill, Chris Olave to get a tutty in week 7. Sean, are we going more touchdowns or what are we doing for this third leg?
Yeah, so I'm going to go an interesting route here. Now that we've locked in a couple Saints touchdowns, I'm going to give out Derek Carr under 1.5 passing touchdowns at minus 170 right now. How about that?
A little Richard, I like it.
But he's only thrown multiple touchdowns in 1 of 6 games this year. A lot of that just has to do with he continues to struggle in the red zone this year. He ranks 28th in success rate in the red zone this year. Struggled mightily last year as well. Also we talked about Taysom Hill. He has to deal with Taysom Hill coming in and playing quarterback out of the Wildcat sometimes, around the goal line. So that saps his upside. They get Jamal Williams back. So, that's potential goal line vulture back as well. Plus they are dealing with some pretty significant offensive line injuries. So it just might be a tougher night for Derek Carr. So I like his under 1.5 passing touchdowns here.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily a fade on anything else that we've done thus far in the parlay, because what do the Saints do when they get in the red zone? They throw Taysom Hill in and sometimes take Derek Carr out. Derek Carr has struggled in the red zone. Taysom Hill can get there just running the ball in, which is more likely than him catching the ball from Derek Carr. And it's why you look at this and say, all right, Derek Carr, he's only thrown 2 or more touchdowns this season in 1 game, I believe, this year. It's not something you want to bet on consistently. Sean, what's another option if we're fading Carr?
So I'm also going with Alvin Kamara under 49.5 rushing yards. As I mentioned, the Saints have some key players out tonight on the offensive line. Left tackle James Hurst has been ruled out. Ryan Ramczyk, their best offensive lineman, has been ruled out. So they're going to have to shuffle things around on the short week. It's just going to be really tough for Kamara to find room to run. Plus, this Jags defense is really good against the run. They've only allowed 3.4 yards per rush against opposing backs, which is the 4th lowest rate this year. As I mentioned, Jamal Williams is back tonight from the IR. So if anything, he'll eat into his early down work. And I could see them just using dump offs to Kamara in the passing game as sort of an extension to the run game with their offensive line issues. So I'm looking to fade Kamara's rushing prop here.
The storyline of this game is the Trevor Lawrence injury, but it's also this Saints defense. And it seems like we're just not talking about how good Jacksonville's defense been the last couple of weeks, especially against the run. The last 2 weeks, Jacksonville has not allowed 50 rushing yards total for the team. And that was against the Texans and the Bills. It seems like it might not be as easy for Kamara to get over that 50 mark, especially because he's used so much in the passing game too. Doesn't mean that Kamara can't have yards. It just might not be all on the ground against an improving Jacksonville defense. 2 options. It's Kamara under his rushing yards at 49.5 or Derek Carr under 1.5 passing touchdowns. Jill, Nick, here's our final leg. Let's get to voting. It's an under either way. Where are we looking for the final leg to this parlay? And do we agree? We do agree. Look at that. See, where's we need to get the drawings involved. Someone should have drew a card. If Tim was here, he would have done that, but it's okay. We're worried about winning this parlay. Derek Carr under 1.5 passing touchdowns. Look, I feel good about this parlay. I'm excited to kind of explain where we're looking, what the odds are before we get to the final payout and a bonus bet for the same game parlay. We got to check in with Darren. What's going on in the prop market, Darren? Catch us up to date.
Well, Megan, let's give you what are the most common bets, the biggest bets at FanDuel tonight. We have first TD score, Christian Kirk, only 2 touchdowns this year, but 14% of the bets and 14% of the money is with Christian Kirk. For anytime TD scorer, no surprise here, Travis Etienne, 5 touchdowns this year, 26% of the bets and 48% of the money at FanDuel. You look elsewhere, we see Chris Olave over 62.5 receiving yards for him. It's either been a whole lot of feast or famine. So most of the time he's gone over that, but there's been a couple games where he's only had 1 or 2 reception and has gone way under that. And Alvin Kamara under 50.5 rushing yards. That is another one that we've been looking at and the betting public seems to like for tonight. So that's what we got for the most bets.
Thank you very much, Darren. Hey, it looks like we're all on the same page. The public likes where you're looking at, Kerner, with the under 49.5 for Kamara. Now, I know we're going with Derek Carr, but good to know, because as always with Action Island, you can add as many legs to this parlay as you want. To recap where we're looking, it's Derek Carr under 1.5 passing touchdowns. It's Taysom Hill to get in the end zone and Chris Olave anytime touchdown. Before you say this doesn't correlate, just remember how Taysom Hill is used. Look at this picture. He's running that touchdown and you know it. You add this all together on FanDuel Sportsbook, you're at plus 59.84. The odds are moving in your favor. And as always, I'll give you a bonus bet. I'm looking at under in this game, under 40.5 for the game total. If you add that onto this, we're at nearly plus 14,000. This is going to be a sloppier game. I think these defenses have been fantastic. Saints top 10 in every category that's possibly important. And then the Jags are improving. Thursday night, the unders are crazy good. And also the Saints have hit under in all 6 of their games so far. Nick, Jill, Sean, are we going to get the second win of the parlay for this season?
Yes, yeah, this is an insane one, but I think this correlates more than the book is factoring in.
Yeah, that was okay. Before we go, I want one of you, Sean, can you explain why this is correlated more than maybe this plus 6,000 that we're seeing?
Yeah. Obviously, this is a strange one because we're taking Derek Carr's under 1.5 passing touchdowns and technically taking the anytime touchdown for 2 of his pass catchers. But as we've been talking about, Taysom Hill can come in and run for a touchdown himself. Hell, he could even throw the touchdown to Chris Olave.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's multiple paths for this to hit. So it's like the book. Obviously, the payout for this should be pretty crazy, but I think they're factoring it in a little too much that this is anti-correlate when I don't think so. I think there's plenty of paths for this one to hit.
And remember, that's the fun part about the parlays. It's making the big money. When you're building a parlay like this, I feel like we can get a little crazy with it. I like where you guys are looking. Feel good about it. Nick, Jill, Sean, good luck this weekend. Happy week 7. Enjoy Thursday Night Football. We'll see you here next time on Action Island.